Yes, Professor Dev.
Shri Gurudev, my question actually is related also to the question which was Rashik asked yesterday regarding Raganuga Bhakti, because we know that some famous Vaishnavas before appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this world, such as, for example, Jaidev Goswami, Vidyapati, and also as well Bilvamanga Thakura, their praise, their practice, it's also related to Raganuga Bhakti. All of them, we can think about them like the nitya parikaras, or the citizens of spiritual world appearance. And they, actually my questions, I have two parts in my questions. First is there actually came from the spiritual world? And second question, is they particularly coming in this Dainya Kali Yuga, because it's related to special mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or they regularly coming? And the last part of the question, the same mission of Jesus Christ, also related to Bhakti. It also was planned before appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Can we think that it also was planned? Thank you.
Yes, and prior to the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are some in history, there are some rare, very high-level Vaishnavas who have revealed something about Madhurya Rasa. And ultimately, this is the contribution to Gaura Lila. It is the will of the Lord. Otherwise, when Mahaprabhu comes to this world, then what poetry will he relish? Geet Govinda is a very important part of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna Kana Amrita, also a Bilvamanga Thakura, it's a very important part. And poetry of Chandidas and Vidyapati. So, by the will of the Lord, some eternal associates have appeared in this world. Just like Krishna makes Parajanya Maharaj, his own grandfather, appear first, and then his father and mother, and then Krishna appears. So before the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is the sprouts of the Kevala Madhurya Maya Upasana coming in the form of Madhavendra Puri, and then Ishwara Puri, and some great Vaishnavas here and there earlier than that, like Jaidev Goswami and Bilvamanga Thakura. And they set the scene and also give some, Mahaprabhu is quoting from the Praman of Mahajans, also Mahajan Praman, like that. So you can see in that way. In regard to Bilvamanga Thakura, it's a very interesting thing, because in Bhaktarasamrita Sindhu, it is said, Bilvamangal Adaya Yeste Paraka Parikirtita. Bilvamanga Thakura and others are example of sadhakas. So it's not said that he's a siddha. But this is in the context of discussing how in the ingredients of rasa, the 5 ingredients of rasa, one of them is vibhav. And among the vibhav, there is alamban and uddipana. Uddipana means the things which stimulate love for Krishna, and alamban means the shelters of rati. The shelters of rati also stimulate love. So Krishna is the Vishay Alamban. So Krishna himself is a Vibhav, because he is the object of the love of the devotees, and he has love for his devotees also. And the devotees are the Ashraya Alamban. So Alamban means support. Sorry. Shelter is a similar word, but Better to say, alamban is the support of rati. So what supports rati? The Vishaya and the Ashray. So Krishna is the Vishaya of rati and the devotee is the Ashray. And so these are all in the category of vibhav, things that stimulate your own sthayi bhav. Now among the Ashray, the shelters of rati, they can also be divided into two. The sadhakas and the siddhas. So you may hear the pastime of a siddha devotee and it stimulates your love for Krishna. But if there's a sadhak, and of course, let's say a devotee in the stage of ruchi, and a sakti is also a sadhak, but they will not be in the category of a rasa samagri. The sadhak who has attained rati, utpanna ratiya samyam narvigam, it plays the role of a vibhav. Understand? And therefore, when it is said that Bilvamanga Thakura is an example of a sadhak, then we can say, when we hear about his life history, how he progressed from being entangled with the courtesan, Chintamani, and how she chastised him, and then how his rati, which was from a previous life, was just covered over. Just like if there is a fire, and then the fire is going out, you see ash, but underneath the ash, there's still some red embers. So the samskars of rati from his previous life, they were there in Bilvamanga Thakura. And when Chintamani chastised him and said, oh, if you were so eager, if you were so attached to Krishna as you are to my body, then your life would be a success. And that was like blowing away the ash. And then the embers of rati from previous life were beneath, and that fire came out. And so then he left everything. And he went and he took shelter of Somagiri, Diksha from his Diksha Guru Somagiri. And then he left and he went to Vrindavan. So let us say the life history of Bilvamanga Thakura, when we hear it and how he realized Krishna, then that can stimulate rati for a devotee. So here Bilvamanga Thakura, he is the sadhak. It means that his pastimes are such that he plays the role of the sadhak, and hearing which he can be the ashray alamban, a vibhav that stimulates your love. Understand? This is the meaning. So even though it is said that Bilvamanga Thakura is the example of a sadhak, it does not necessarily mean that he's not a siddha. Right? Because Krishna makes his associates appear in the world in order to teach us. But in regard to hearing about the devotees, then he's an example of the vibhav that stimulates your love. But of the two, there's the siddha, and you can hear about his pastimes as a sadhak, overcoming his difficulties and becoming perfect. And that can stimulate like this. So even though it said that Bilvamanga Thakura is the example of a sadhak, then, how will it be that Gauranga Mahaprabhu is appearing in every day of Lord Brahma? And then he's taking shelter of the writing of a sadhak, like this, in every day of Lord Brahma. So we should see him also as an extraordinary personality who has been sent into this world. But as I mentioned to Rasik Shekhar yesterday, Narottam Das Thakur says, Purva para karaha bichar. There are great Mahajans and we should follow the Mahajans, but there are two categories, the previous Mahajans and the later Mahajans. So the later Mahajans are the 6 Goswamis. Why? Because when Gauranga Mahaprabhu appeared, he came to give what was never given before. And that is the Manjari Bhav. So previously, some Naika Bhav has been expressed, heroine's mood. Definitely in Geet Govinda, the heroine's mood, that is Radharani's mood, is expressed. And also Sakhi's mood. So there are Apart from Krishna, there are two main characters in Gita Govinda, Radharani and one Sakhi, and she's going backwards and forwards. So the Sakhi's mood has been expressed by Jayadev Goswami, and Sakhi Bhav has been expressed by Bilvamanga Thakura as well, and by Vidyapati and Chandidas. But the Manjari Bhav, it has not been revealed or expressed before. So, though we respect and we honor the great Mahajans prior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we discriminate and we follow the later Mahajans, those are 6 Goswamis, because they are the repositories of the special bhav that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to give, and he's distributing the Radha Dasyam through those persons. Now, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, we are indebted to him because he has given us 3 Amritas. That is, Govinda Lilamrita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he has given us the Saranga Ranga Tika, the commentary on Bilvamanga Thakura's Karnamrita. So we're indebted to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami for these 3 Amritas. And because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is an incarnation of one of the Astamanjaris, Kasturi Manjari. So in his commentary on Krishna Karnamrita, though he's a Purva Mahajan, and he's shown in his poetry the Naika Bhav and the Sakhi Bhav. Radhika is Naika and he has expressed mood as a Sakhi. But because Krishnadas Kaviraj is the Kasturi Manjari, he has the expressed layers of meaning in the verses of Krishna Karnamrita. So he is shown how the verses are the direct words of Radharani. He has shown how the words can be the direct words of Bilvamanga Thakura as a sadhak, giving a teaching to his disciples who are following him on his journey to Vrindavan. And he has given a meaning of the verses according to the perspective of the Manjaris Krishnadas Kaviraj has, because he's in Manjari Bhav. So this shows us that even if there is a verse and it does not appear to be in Manjari Bhav, but anyway, those who are in Manjari Bhav will interpret it from the perspective of Manjari Bhav. Or just like we heard, Bhattaji was describing Yugaitam Nimeshena Chakshusha Pravrishayatam Shunyayatam Jagat Sarvam Govind Virahiname. This is a Radhika. Mahaprabhu is speaking in the mood of Radhika, and if we'll say that Yugayatam Nimeshana, one moment is like millions of years, then what stage of prema is this? Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Anurag. Rudra Bhav, the Anubhavs, the reactions of Rudra Bhav are Nimesha Sahita Sanna Janita Rit Vilolana, the inability to tolerate separation for the blinking of an eye. Chanaka Kalpatva, and one moment seems like thousands of years. So it's can be moved from Rudra Bhav onwards. Rudra. So this is a Radharani speaking in this mood. But because the Rupa Goswami and our Acharyas, they're in Manjari Bhav, and they feel the anxiety of Radhika, and they value this service of trying to pacify Radharani in her state of separation. Then, so Bhattaji was saying, oh, what's the meaning of this verse? That Someone told to the Manjri, oh, go and help Radharani. And then she was running there and saw that Radharani was in this condition. And then thinking, how can I bring Radha and Krishna together? Like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Shri Krishna virahehi radhikara dasha ameto sahite nari. When I see the condition that Radhika is in separation from Shri Krishna, I cannot tolerate it. Jugala milan sukera karana jivana charite pari. For the sake of bringing Krishna together with Radharani, to give her relief from this biraha dasha that I cannot tolerate. I am ready to give up my life to do this. You see? So even though the verse itself is spoken by Mahaprabhu, but the verse itself is Radhika's bhav, but those who are in Manjri bhav will experience the verse from the vantage point of Shri Krishna virahe radhikara dasha amatu sariti nari, and that bhav will come. Understand? So, even though the Mahajans who came before Mahaprabhu, they didn't reveal Manjri Bhav. Now Mahaprabhu has revealed the Manjri Bhav. Those previous poems can be relished by that perspective, by qualified persons who have that Sambandha Gyan. Yeah? Understand? Okay. It's very difficult to make the shift because it's in another rasa. But the question about Jesus Christ, yes, is it the plan of the Lord? Everything is the plan of the Lord. What is not the plan of the Lord? In fact, when we become free from pratag drsha, what to speak of everything, the things are not the plan of the Lord. There's nothing which is not directly the Lord even. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. Huh? Just like in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna saw the universal form, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he's seeing the soldiers on this side and the soldiers on that side, and he's having an emotional crisis, and he's speaking to Krishna. But when Krishna showed him the Virat Roop, then he said, oh Krishna, you yourself are all the soldiers on both sides. So is something the plan of the Lord? Yes, of course. Everything is ultimately the Virat Roop of the Lord, but out of Pratag Drisha, a vision of separation. Due to our own vimukata, due to our own turning away from Sri Krishna, then we think that everything is separate from Sri Krishna. If we turn towards Krishna, we'll never see anything separate from Sri Krishna. Aham meva sameva gre nanyadyat sadasad paschadat yaditascha yo vishishet asosmaham. This is the first teaching of the Chatusloki Bhagavatam. Before the creation of the world, only I exist. And when the creation is dissolved, only I exist. And in the middle, actually, it's also me. But this type of knowledge, this type of understanding, this is like Adhyatma Deep. It is said Srimad Bhagavatam is compared. 3 metaphors have been given to describe what Srimad Bhagavatam is like. Adhyatma Deep. Just like Sutta Goswami prayed to Shukadeva Goswami, his guru, before speaking in his Mangala Charanam. Yahaswana bhavam akilasu tisaramekam adhyatma deepam atitirtishtatam tamandam. That this Srimad Bhagavatam is Adhyatma Deep. It illuminates the Atma Tattva. That means the relation between Atma and Paramatma. But then Srimad Bhagavatam is described to be like the sun. Krishne swadhamapagate dhamma jnana dibisaha klaunashta darshamesha purana ko dunoditaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam has arisen like the sun in this age of Kali to give light to those whose eyes have been darkened Hmm? When Sri Krishna left this world, along with Dharma and Gyan, then where did Dharma and Gyan go to shelter? Huh? So when Krishna left this world, along with Dharma and Gyan, then the Srimad Bhagavatam rose like the sun to illuminate everything. So Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the sun. And Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to Nigamakalpataro Galitam Palam Shukamukad Amrit Drabasamvitam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasmalayam Uraho Rasika Bhuvibhavukaha. It is the mature, ripened, juicy fruit of the Vedas. So these three metaphors in relation to Srimad Bhagavatam, they refer to first Adhyatma Deep is that vision. Like Arjun saw, oh my Lord, you are everything. It's an Atma Paramatma relationship. Two things exist, Atma and Paramatma. Just like when Hansa Avatar gave instructions to the four Kumaras. He said, oh, what you experience, waking, sleep, dreaming, and deep sleep. But you are none of these things. You are the Sakshi, you are the witness of those states. So then Hansa said, that's you. And everything else is me. You see? So this is Adhyatma Deep. What are all the forms of this world? They are first and foremost and primarily the forms of Paramatma. And secondarily, they're all the things that we speak about in conventional language. That's why the Vedanta Sutra gives this conclusion that Chara Chara Vyapasrastu Syat Tad Vyapadesho Bhaktas Tad Bhava Bhavitvat. That because the Supreme Lord is the substrate of all moving and non-moving living entities, therefore every word is first and foremost and primarily a name of God. And secondarily, only it refers to the things that we think about as we conceive objects in conventional everyday speech. Agirudivritti. In Agirudivritti, the words mean what common people think they mean. But in Vidvadrudivritti, every word is the name of God. So that's Adhyatma Deep. Bhagavatam is like that. And so all the chapters in Bhagavatam which describe how Supreme Lord has his pradhan, the ingredient cause of the world, which is prime matter, which is just pure potential, without any distinguishing manifest features. And then Paramatma enters into that and causes it to transform into all the elements. And then the elements combine and become all the bodies and the things that we see around. And therefore all the forms are Paramatma forms. All these descriptions that you find in the second canto, the third canto, the 11th canto. This is the aspect of Bhagavatam which is Adhyatma Deep. It's revealing the relation between Atma and Paramatma and the world. So if the answer is something part of God's plan? Yes. Because Kal, time is the cheshta, the activity of the Lord. And it expresses the Icha of the Lord. Mahavishnu glances towards Ramadevi, and then the shadow of his glance unites with the shadow of Ramadevi, and the material creation goes on. So glancing means desire. If you desire something, then you look. So because the Supreme Lord looks at Ramadevi, the halo of his glance is actually Lord Shiva. And it unites with the shadow of Ramadevi, that is Maya Devi. And so the creation of the world comes from the glance of the Lord. So it's his desire. Not directly, but the abhas of his desire. So yes, everything in this world is going on. It's the abhas of the desire of the Lord. So the Supreme Lord never, in Bhagavad Gita, you can see where it's discussed, yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, wherever there is irreligion, the Lord descends. When dharma is going down and adharma is going up, then the Lord descends there. But he said, the Supreme Lord only directly incarnates where there is the varnashram dharma, that context. So outside of varnashram dharma, he does not directly incarnate, but he sends his representative like Jesus Christ. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said. So you should see it like that. Yes. Ramanandra.
Thank you, Gurudev. I have a question related to yesterday's class.
Oh, just to touch on that. So, this idea, yes, it's the plan of the Lord. But this is in the realm of the Abbas, of his desire. It's connected to understanding Bhagavatam as the Adhyatma Deep. What is Bhagavatam? As the sun? That is the direct incarnations, the Leelas of Lord Nishingadev, Varahadev, and so on. Lord Ramachandra, that's like the sun. But then the parts of Bhagavatam that deal directly with Krishna Leela. Now Bhagavatam becomes like the juicy fruit of. So these are vantage points, these are perspectives. So we want to be in that perspective of relishing the juicy fruit of Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. Those are Rasik and Bhavuk. They want to relish that fruit. We want to be like that. But for the sake of, according to our stage, first we'll have to understand how it's Adhyatma Deep. If you don't understand, you have not realized the Adhyatma Deep aspects. Then, if you try to relish the ras, you'll be sahajya, imitation, because you haven't realized the basic Atma Tattva yet, and the relation between Krishna and Maya, and these things. But a person who is relishing rasa, they have the skill that they can shift frames of reference, depending on their audience, and depending on the question. They are in this frame of reference, of rasa, but they can shift their frame of reference to give appropriate answers to persons in different levels of consciousness. And this is why it is said that Sri Guru is Uttam Bhagavat, but he shifts his frame of reference to the level of Madhyam Bhagavat in order to preach. Otherwise he could not preach. Because if he was seeing from the frame of reference of the Uttam Bhagavat, then there would be no one to preach to. Because Uttam Bhagavat sees his own prema in everyone else, but thinks, I have no prema. Understand? So, because there's a tendency in the conditioned stage to only have one frame of reference. Because you have not realized more and more, and no ability to move, and everything becomes confusing. How can I love Krishna, coward boy in Vrindavan, when every word is a name of Krishna and every form everywhere is Krishna? It becomes like a kitchery in the mind. Yeah? And so these are frames of reference according to the level of consciousness, according to whether one is experiencing the Bhagavatam as a deep, a light, or a blazing sun, or the fruit of. Yeah? But a person cannot be in all the frames of reference at the same time. So don't be confused. Yes, sorry, your question.
So my question is about yesterday's topic of Priti. So we've heard that we cannot say that Prem, the Priti, is the energy which the lover, means the bhakta, can manifest. But can we say this, because this verb is intransitive, so can we say the same the other way around? So, for example, there will be to correct to say that Krishnaha Bhakte Prinati, for example. And if it's correct, then is it because prem, according to the rasa vichar, though the prem is a Shakti of the Lord, and actually he is capable to use it to control it even, but according to the rasa vichar, we can say that prem makes everyone dance. Krishna, devoting everyone. That's why we use this verb as intransitive verb.
Mhm. This example is not given, but it's a reasonable conclusion to make, because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has said, Krishnera nachaya prem bhaktana nachaya apin nachaya tina nachaya katai. Prem makes Krishna dance, prem makes the devotee dance, and prem itself dances. And all three dance together. Very interesting. But it's also, there's a shift of frame of reference here. Because we're talking about the tattva. We're discussing the tattva of priti. But then it's going into the lila. They're because they're analogies on the different levels. Let's say a devotee in this world, they have to give up the katra to abhiman. Right? And the priti is a manifest in them. And so, relative to their sadhak form, they feel that I am not the doer. I am not the doer. But then, in the Siddha Abhiman, there's a feeling like that, because it's human-like. You understand? But then, when Mahabhav appears, then the analogous experience of the person becoming free from the katra to Abhiman is there. Understand that? And that's where Krishna said, oh, the gopis' love is such a thing that yatha samadho munyabditaye nadya. It's like a yogi going into trance and giving up his katra to abhiman, like this. So, yeah, there are frames of reference, and they are analogous. The different levels are analogous to each other. Does it understand? Yeah. So, I think not so many people will understand, but Ramananda Rai, he's studying very seriously and doing vichar, and you must do it. You must do it. Yesterday we told some points. It was for the senior devotees who are studying for many, many years, and they want to enter deeply into what our Goswamis have given. Neophyte devotee becomes frustrated. Oh, what is this? I can't understand. And then this is not important. It's not important. Why? Because I can't understand it, so it's not important. So this is only ahankar, false ego. This is only ahankar, false ego. This is a sour grapes, like the fox. He's trying to get the grapes, but he cannot reach. He says, oh, these grapes are sour. So it comes from false ego, because the neophyte, in the first stage, then the devotee, if he cannot understand something, then he becomes depressed. Srila Vishnu Thakur has described this in Madhurya Kadambini. The first stage of bhakti is Utsavamayi. Right? That means beginner's enthusiasm. And so the beginner, he says, oh, bhakti, this is good. Yes, I can chant Hare Krishna. I can sing kirtan, play mridanga. I know Bhagavad Gita. You are not the body. I'll go around and tell everyone you're not the body and share with them my enlightened perspective. You are not the body. but I need ice cream. If I don't have a pizza and some chocolate, I'll die. And giving instructions to everyone, you are not the body. So, so this is beginner's enthusiasm. Utsamai. But what's the next stage? Ganatarala. Means thick and thin. Sometimes he's very intense in service, and sometimes he becomes completely slack. But why? Why does he become slack? Because Vishnu Thakur gives the example. There was one boy. He went to school, and then he learns how to write a, I, u. And then he thought, oh, I'm a pandit. But then he went to a higher class to listen, and he could not understand anything, and then he loses his enthusiasm. So these are the stages of the neophyte devotee. Can become depressed because at first learns a few things and thinks I am great, and then afterwards cannot understand something, and so becomes depressed because not because he's humble, because he's proud. Oh, I so much want to be great, but now I'm realizing I'm not great. It's terrible. Right? So Vishnu Thakur is describing these psychological stages from the beginner's enthusiasm and then the alternation between being engaged and being slack and spaced out, due to finding that actually this subject is more involved than I previously envisioned, and it comes as a shock. It comes as a surprise. So it is for this very reason that Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Pad says, Siddhanta Baliya Chite Nakara Alas. Ya hoiti Krishna lagi sudrida manas. When it comes to Siddhanta, don't be a lazy fellow. Alas means laziness. Just like we were saying, there were 33 sanctuary baths. But the gopis in Maduras, there's two that they don't have, and one is alasya. They don't have laziness. That's a transcendental laziness. Transcendental laziness is fine. Madhumangal can have that sometimes. It's a type of ecstasy for him. But in this world, it's not fine. It's actually tamagun, the mode of ignorance. So, Siddhanta Baliya Chetanakura Alas. Don't be lazy when it comes to Siddhanta. Why is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami saying this? Because it's a challenge. It's a struggle. It requires you to be focused and dedicated and not distracted. Because a distracted mind cannot have deep thoughts. If you have ADHD, attention deficit disorder, then you can only think in a superficial way about anything. You cannot go deeply into anything. Because to go deeply into anything, you have to think about it with full concentration without being distracted by something else. And as you become more and more concentrated, then ekagrata comes, one-pointedness. And that goes through levels. Savitak, nirvitak, savichar, nirvichar. So only come to the level of vichar, siddhanta vichar, tattva vichar, rasa vichar, only to come to the level of deliberation. Then you'll have to pass through the stages of satark and vitarka. That is it like this? Is it like that? Argumentation. Even that savitark and nirvitark, the philosophical argumentation. Is it like this? Is it like that? This is in the stage of ekagrata. It's not before ekagrata. And vichar is the next deep level of ekagrata. So one-pointed attention is necessary only to be confused, actually. Yeah? Because at first, you don't even know enough to know that you don't understand. Understand? At first, a person does not have enough information or understanding to understand that they don't understand. And then when they go into ekagrata, then they can see all the components of the subject. And they're concentrating, ekagrata, and they concentrate on all the components, but they have not yet understood how to put them together. And so it becomes savitarka. And then when they understand how the components come together, it becomes nirvitarka. Now, I'm not, is it like this or like, no, it's definitely like this. And then vichara comes, the level of vichara. To do vichar on the siddhanta. You see? So, it takes effort to go into the siddhanta vichar. And that's why Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad said, Siddhanta baliya chitina karo alas. Here, balite means calling it siddhanta. Because a person may say, I just want to love Krishna. And then someone says, oh, what is love? Oh, it is priti. But what does priti mean? It means sukham and priyata. But what's the difference? So these questions come. And then the person says, this is not love. This is just siddhanta. This is theory. So siddhanta baliya, calling it siddhanta out of laziness. This thing happens. So he said, don't do that. Because Yahoite Krishna lagi sudrida manas. If you make the effort, then your mind will become sudrid. It will become firmly fixed on Krishna. And many, because let's say the devotees who have been studying this subject meticulously, step by step, systematically, you can ask them, what type of illumination takes place when you finally understand something? What kind of ullas, illumination of the heart takes place when you understand something? For a long time you didn't understand, but you were trying, and then you realize, this is what it is. And you don't go back. And the chitta is expanding all the time. So, our Goswamis, they have shown us the way through Śāstra. And mainly by reading, we'll not understand so much. Mainly we'll understand by hearing. Mainly we'll understand by Shabda Brahma. We hear transcendental sound in a surrendered mood. And then the chittavritti of that subject is transferred into the heart. And even though we may not catch it at once, if we go on chanting, it will be uncovered. So you should consider this. If there's something that you don't understand today, don't be disheartened. Think, oh, I am so lucky that the air that touched this guitar is touching me. I've been touched by the air that was touched by this guitar. You should think like this. And that the potential is there. Now I have heard this. The potential is there. That in the future, one day, I can realize what this means. Gaur Premanande.